Oh gosh.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our planning and development meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? This morning, we have one public meeting. Welcome and good morning. Today, there is one public meeting regarding a proposed development application in accordance with the Planning Act. I am pleased to advise that this is being broadcast live on the township's YouTube channel, where a recording of this meeting will be available. Notice of the meeting was sent by first-class mail to all property owners within 120 meters, 400 feet of the subject property. Signage was also posted on the subject property to provide information about the meeting. All of this was in conformance with the Planning Act process for a statutory public meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to inform and provide the public and the Planning and Development Committee with an opportunity to ask questions or express views with respect to the proposal. The format of the public meeting will be as follows. Number one, the applicant's agent will generally explain the purpose and effect of the application. Number two, township staff can provide further information and clarify any statements of the applicant and or their agent. Next, the public will be permitted to ask questions, express views on the proposal, and then the public portion of the meeting will be closed. And finally, the members of the committee will be given the opportunity to ask questions for clarification on the proposal and provide comments. At the conclusion of the meeting for the application, the applicant, their agent, and if required, township staff will be given the opportunity to respond to the questions and comments received. No decision will be made today following the public meeting on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application. Following this meeting, the information obtained, including from questions and comments submitted by members of the public and committee, will assist the township and the applicant's team to determine next steps. Should substantial questions or concerns remain.
Oh, you've gone silent. You've gone mute, Judith. Sorry, Chair. There you go.
Information is requested. Once the township is satisfied with the information provided by the applicants and their consultants, this committee may recommend the bylaw to be considered by council, as the township is the approval authority for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If in the future township council decides in favor of the application by adopting recommendations from this committee, members of the public who have provided oral or written submissions but disagree with the decision may be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal, the OLT, under the Planning Act. Individuals attending the public meeting by YouTube, Zoom, or telephone may email or call the township's planning department to submit contact information to receive notice of the decision on the application. Public meeting for 1726 Earl Avenue. I will now call on the applicant's agent, Patrick Towns from MHBC Planning, to please present the information provided within item C 1.3.1 of the agenda package and explain the purpose and effect of the application. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll just share my screen here with the presentation. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Fantastic, thank you. As mentioned, my name is Patrick Towns. I'm a land use planner with MHBC, and we're out of our Barrie office. I'm here today representing the owners of the property, Ed and Mary Schmiel, locally known as the Riverhouse restaurant. The application before you is a zoning bylaw amendment, and it's to facilitate the construction of a deck, commonly called a patio in this case, on the front of the existing restaurant building. I do have my presentation just to my right if you catch me glancing off in that direction, but the subject property contains the existing restaurant building. There is an accessory dwelling unit on the upper story of that building. The septic system was recently updated to support the restaurant and that accessory dwelling unit. The subject property is located within the Severn Falls settlement area, which is an important aspect from the land use planning perspective. The township, the county, and the province promotes development within these areas being settlement areas. This image shows the property. It's outlined in red. The surrounding land uses primarily include other shoreline commercial uses and residential uses. The township dock is generally located right in front of the restaurant and accessed off Earl Avenue. The existing restaurant is located at the front of the property, and then the new septic system is located towards the rear of the property. The proposed deck, which is the topic of the application today, is outlined in red on this image. The components of the existing development include the restaurant building. There is an existing deck that is located within the township's road allowance on Earl Avenue. The owners currently hold a license of occupation agreement with the township that permits that existing deck to be located within that road allowance. In addition to the application before you today, there were some other historic items required for the owner and us to consider and to satisfy the township with from their perspective. One of which was that additional encroachment required 0.2 meters for the walkway extension of that existing deck to get to the new portion of the deck. So I'll touch on those items specifically a little later in the presentation from that previous council resolution. But generally, the proposed deck in this case is in the same location as a dock on the front of the property. It extends further to the north where it gets a little larger. At this point, it's likely important to know that through pre-consultation with township staff and discussions with Trent Severn Waterway, this design has been scaled back and reduced upon the recommendation of Trent Severn Waterway, and through the discussions with them through pre-consultation, there's no red flags with this design that we put forward. So again, we have the proposed deck outlined in red. There was discussion with township staff regarding the maximum occupancy permitted on the deck through this process, which it is a very separate issue from the application before you. But at present time, nothing is to change with the permitted occupancy allowances based on the approved septic system capacity or the number of patrons permitted under the liquor license that applies to the property. The proposed deck consists of a walkway across the front of the building, as you can see, and then you get to the large seating area where the future tables will be placed. These are preliminary design drawings of what the proposed deck would look like. This is the view directly from the Severn River, looking at the front of the building. And then this is the view from the north side where the wider part of the deck will be. So as mentioned, there were some other items to consider through this process, and we've looked at these items through pre-consultation meetings with the township. These were clearly outlined in a previous resolution of council, so this application or the topic of the application is not new to council as a whole. The owners commissioned a survey to show all lot lines and the dimensions of the existing deck. The owners hired an architect to review the accessibility standards of the design. After looking at the township's plans for the work to be completed within the road allowance and along the shoreline, so those upgrades being contemplated and updated, the existing deck was incorporated to those approved designs. So there was no reason to remove or adjust the existing deck within the road allowance. The existing license of occupation agreement will need to be updated to reflect that slight encroachment of 0.2 meters, which was shown on the previous slide. And the owners have designed and prepared drawings and engineering plans to be reviewed through the eventual building permit process and this amendment application to confirm what amendments are required. So all the conditions listed here have been reviewed and satisfied so that the owners can proceed to the site plan control stage with the township and eventually the building permit stage. This slide just summarizes there's three main amendments required here. First of all, the front yard setback. So a deck is permitted to be 4 meters from the front yard, which is the shoreline in this case. So it's a unique situation. We have a shoreline property. The deck is going to be 0 meters from the front yard and encroach 2 meters over. So similar to a dock that you're permitting an encroachment into and over the water or the shoreline. And again, the proposal's been reviewed with township staff through pre-consultation and the Trent Severn, and there's been no concerns noted about that proposed encroachment. The northern lot line is proposed to be reduced. The northern interior yard is proposed to be reduced to 0.8 to accommodate that larger portion of the deck. 4.5 meters is required here. And then the minimum southern interior yard, so that's the side of the restaurant that abuts the existing road allowance. Again, that's going to be a 0 meter setback, so the new deck can connect to the existing. Other amendments that were included currently, the bylaw lot coverage is calculated on a per zone basis. This lot is split zone. We're just proposing the lot coverage be calculated over the whole lot area of the property, and then it's compliant. And all other provisions of the C8 zone shall apply. And we're also removing EP zoning on the front of the property on the shoreline. There's no fish habitat. There's no mapping in the official plan that reflects any environmental features. And we do think this is an improvement on what's there, replacing the existing dock. So it's our opinion that there's no real reason that the EP zone should have been applied here in the first place. Here's a view of the front of the existing restaurant where the deck will be located. The existing dock is located, township dock's located to the left, so there's no implications of the operation of the dock whatsoever. That was a concern early in the process, but we've addressed that with township staff and the Trent Severn. Here's a shot of the existing deck. The proposed deck will extend on the wall side of the building here over top of the existing wooden dock. There'll be no encroachment, or just that 0.2 slight encroachment into the township property. But again, we're respecting the location of the township dock, and there'll be no ill effects to the use of that. And this, interesting enough, this is the shot of the front of the building. There's an existing dock that is sometimes used for a walkway. The owner to the north, on the opposite side of the restaurant, as it's our understanding that I've actually spoke to the owners, they support the deck because it would close off access in this location. So members of the public may wander across this dock onto their property. So they're supportive of the deck itself, which would cut off access along the front of the building. And lastly, here's just a shot of the road allowance. And again, the township dock, so no effect to the access of the dock whatsoever. And the proposed deck will not be seen from this view, but it will be on the front of the restaurant. So in closing, we do appreciate staff's time in coming up with an agreeable solution to this application. We've reviewed and we appreciate the positive staff report. We agree with the conclusions that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, it's consistent with the PPS, it conforms to the growth plan and the county and township official plans. And following council's previous resolution on this matter, and through numerous meetings with staff and the Trent Severn waterway, there has been no remaining red flags identified. So all other matters such as capacity, table seating, septic requirements, etc., can be dealt with during the site plan stage. So that is the next steps for the owners after this zoning bylaw amendment, is to proceed with permits from the Trent Severn with township's blessing, and then complete the site plan control application, and then obtain building permits for the proposed deck. So in closing, again, thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the proposed application. Thank you.
Does the township senior planner, Katie Mandeville, have anything further to add to the materials and information presented by the applicant? Katie?
Thank you, Chair. I will, for now, just keep it brief. I'm here to answer any questions that committee may have. But I just wanted to stress that this is the application for the zoning bylaw amendment for those reduced setbacks. As Mr. Towns noted, this previously came to council, and they're just working through basically conditions that were put forth in a previous council motion. And that council motion was to get support from the Trent Severn Waterway, or to endorse it to the Trent Severn Waterway permit process. So as Mr. Towns noted multiple times, the next step here is site plan control, and that's where detailed design, so basically building permit drawings will be worked out. The permit will have to be issued from the Trent Severn Waterway because this is a shoreline structure. And then any changes or alterations to the license of occupation for the new section, that'll also be looked at with our clerk during that site plan control. process, as well as the accessibility committee review during that detailed design as well. So this is just kind of another step in the process. And I think Mr. Towns also tried to illustrate that during his presentation. So available for any questions the committee may have.
Thank you very much. Are there any persons present on Zoom or the telephone who have either questions or comments on the application? Will now be invited to speak. Please unmute yourself when recognized. Turn on your camera if you wish. You will be required to give your full name and address for the minutes. Please note that your comments will also be recorded and live streamed to the Township's YouTube channel and will remain online. The Township does not have the ability to edit the live stream to remove any personal information provided in the course submitting comments or questions. If there are any members of the public who would like to speak, please unmute yourself now and give your name and address for the minutes. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone?
I do not believe we have anyone attending from the public.
Okay, thank you very much. Could the Township Planner, Emily Heil, please summarize any additional correspondence that has been submitted on this application and provide any further information?
Good morning, Chair. Since the
Morning.
publishing of the agenda, it appears that we've received an additional 4 letters in general support of the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. Does the applicant's agent wish to provide any further information on the application? Patrick?
Nothing further. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Do the members of the committee have any comments? Member Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I support the recommendation, but I've got 2 questions. Hopefully Katie or someone from planning can help me out with. If ultimately approved by council, what are the next steps for the proponents to obtain a deck permit? And what do you anticipate the timeline is? Because we know this has been going on for many years, and I'd like to see light at the end of the tunnel here. So if I could pass that over to whomever would like to speak to that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Manville.
Through the chair to Member Taylor's question. So the site plan agreement process comes next. So the timing of that is really proponent driven. So it really depends when Patrick or his clients apply for that application. Once the application's submitted, generally staff have a 6 to 8 week or 6 to 10, depending on our workload here, review period where all the departments in the township will review that submission, as well as the Trent Severn Waterway, since they're the applicable government agency in this case. So we really have no control over the Trent Severn Waterway's timing. Likewise, before they can get a building permit and before we sign the site plan agreement, they'll also need that permit from the Trent Severn Waterway, which I've heard from residents sometimes takes a couple months and sometimes takes a year. So again, we have no control over the Trent Severn Waterway timing. They've been involved in this process to date, so hopefully that will assist in timing wise, but we really have no control over that aspect. The application during that time period I mentioned for site plan control would also be circulated to the accessibility committee. So generally how that process works is we send out the submission for comments to township staff, to agencies, accessibility committee, etc. We compile those comments and provide them back to the applicant. And then typically there's a resubmission. I mean, if the first submission's perfect, then we proceed to the agreement. But generally speaking, there's a resubmission after that as well. So it's very difficult to say how long timing wise. Sometimes we give comments back on a site plan, 8 weeks after they submit, and then they don't give a second submission until a year later. So we really can't, I really can't answer the timing question.
Okay, Member Taylor.
Yeah, just a follow-up then through the chair to Katie. So does it come back to planning again before ultimately being approved by council, or how does that work?
Ms. Mandeville?
Through the chair to Member Taylor. It's really great timing that in a week from today, Nick and I will go through the whole planning and building process for council. But no, site plan control under the Planning Act is delegated to staff. So this is the last time council will see this proposal.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sorry, if I can just add to that, the zoning bylaw amendment would have to be passed by council first, then it would be in staff.
Thank you.
Okay, Member Minnings.
Thank you. So my questions also were around the timing. And is there any opportunity for the staff to pass the site planning approvals before the Severn approvals come forward? I'm also just looking at the timelines from a business perspective and knowing that we have our economic development study at the midpoint, and it's a real commitment to support all of our businesses and not just support them, but attract new ones. So I'm wondering how much is in the control of the township staff to take something like this, for example, with all of those letters of support, et cetera, that is a non-contentious item, and perhaps prioritize it or fast track it rather than the standard 8 to 10 week timeline that Ms. Mandeville just spoke of?
Ms. Mandeville.
Unfortunately, most of our applications are from small business owners. So if we tried to prioritize every small business owner's application over, say, a random property owner or over one of our large developers, I think council would hear a lot about that from our large developers, especially since they would like us to prioritize their applications over small business owners. So what the planning department does is just treats everyone the exact same way. If you're an individual one-off property owner, if you're a small business owner, if you're a large developer, we treat all those application processes the same. We just want to be fair with staff time and with that process. Everyone's a taxpayer, everyone's a ratepayer, so we just try to treat every situation equally. In terms of issuing any approvals before Trent Severn Waterway, we wouldn't do that. Just because if for some reason the Trent decides they want to change and they're the ultimate approval authority here, they would then have to go back through and change our process and change a site plan amendment, which is another process. So we want to make sure that we're not signing that legal agreement that's registered on title until the Trent Severn Waterway has signed off, and that's really in the best interest of the applicant so that they don't have to go back and change that legal agreement after.
Okay, so subsequent through the chair, I do appreciate the prioritization of applications. However, I'm hoping that ongoing applications or ones that are in process, such as this one, don't have to go to the back of the line again. And I understand that everyone's a taxpayer. Trust me. I'm just trying to keep those that are in progress, because that is something that I've become aware of from business owners in my area. It's all around the timing. So I'm just looking at, I'm not telling you how to do your processes internally, but just prioritizing certain ones that are in progress and treat them as in progress rather than treat them as back to the end of the line. If there was an opportunity, I think that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Member Burkett.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Towns. Can we go back to page 7 of your presentation? And then I'll just have Katie answer a question for me, please. Oh, sorry. So it says page 7. So go to the next one. Sorry, page 8, history of application. That's it. So I see the first one's completed, and the next one, that'll be an architect that reviews that, which is out of our hands. And the next one is okay. The encroachment, are we okay with this 0.2 meters? And is it, Katie, part of the site plan agreement? Like, are we going to go back with comments for the owners?
Through the chair, you probably can't see me, so I'll just speak.
I can.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That license of occupation will be a process wrapped into the site plan process, similar to other businesses that have a portion of their building or accessory uses or facilities on our property. The clerk regularly reviews license of occupation with these types of owners anyway. And we just want to make sure, so that 0.2 meters is not included in the zoning bylaw amendment because it's not necessarily on their lot, which is what their zoning applies to. And we also want to make sure that that new walkway, the new access point that will be on township property, as well as a portion of this building is also on township property. We want to make sure it's AODA compliant. So we want to make sure that during detailed design, which is during the site plan process, that's looked at by our accessibility committee, by our township staff here. So yeah, that'll all be worked out during the detailed design during that site plan process.
So thank you through Madam Chair, if I may, supplementary to Katie. So we at a staff level are okay with the 0.2 meters for the new deck walkway as long as the accessibility committee is fine with it as well. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
Yeah, if I can share back through to Member Burkett. Yeah, I think that more than the accessibility committee has to sign off, I think our building department also has to sign off on that. And as Mr. Towns stated, an architect needs to stamp that for building code compliance and AODA compliance. So I'm just hesitant to say we're okay with 0.2 meters because it might end up being 0.3 meters. I don't know yet at this phase.
Okay, thank you. So supplementary through Madam Chair, if I may, what does it mean in the next one, zoning bylaw amendment required? What does that entail?
Through the chair, back to Member Burkett. That's what we're doing here today. This is an application for a zoning bylaw amendment. So they're trying to check off that right now.
Okay, so that entails everything that's written here on this page. Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else? Oh, wait. Okay, does anyone else have any other questions or comments? I just have one comment, and I'm glad that this is going through, only because when we did our master recreation plan, we did some meetings with the chamber in Aurelia and Lake Country. And that was one of the things they talked about for economic development and tourism. I'm sorry, was the lack of places for boaters. The boaters had commented on that. So now this is good that we have more expanded there. Plus we have the Wabbit. So it just helps that industry a bit more. And the chamber at their docks can let people know what's going on once it gets finished. Okay. If there are no further comments, I declare that the public meeting on this proposal is closed. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. So the motion reads that planning report number P23-033 dated October 18th, 2023, with respect to zoning bylaw amendment application file number Z2304 for the subject lands located at 1726 Earl Hayde Avenue be received, and further that a draft zoning bylaw amendment be presented to council for consideration at the next available meeting, subject to comments received prior to council's consideration of the zoning bylaw amendment, including additional submissions from the Planning and Development Committee, members of the public, circulated agencies, and township departments.
Thank you very much. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Member Taylor, seconded by Member Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Patrick. Have a good day,
everybody.
We have D. Delegations. Please be advised that in accordance with the council's procedural bylaw, no decision will be made this morning on the delegations. The committee will do one of the following: refer the matter to staff for a report, refer the matter to future budget deliberations, or take no action. I'd like to welcome Nicole Carpenter, Georgian Bay Forever, for a progress update and a 2024 budget request. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm just going to share my screen, and please let me know if there's any issues. Okay. I'm hoping everyone can see and hear me okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation today. I'm Nicole, and I am a project manager at Georgian Bay Forever. I'd like to start off by thanking the township for their support last year to our organization for our invasive Phragmites management program in Matchedash Bay, that of $2,500. And I'm going to go through a bit of what we did with that and move on to our request for 2024. So just before I do that, a brief reminder of who we are, because I know we're a little bit new to the Township of Severn. We are an environmental charity dedicated to scientific research and public education on Georgian Bay's aquatic ecosystem. And our mission is to protect, enhance, and restore the aquatic ecosystem of Georgian Bay by taking action and funding accredited research on water levels, water quality, and ecosystems. We are generously supported by municipalities like yourselves, donors, volunteers, local community groups, businesses, Indigenous communities, provincial and federal funds and grants, and many more. In 2021, we began a project in partnership with the Severn Sound Environmental Association in Matchedash Bay. So our role in this project was the invasive Phragmites surveying and removal throughout the wetland. And SSEA, their role is to do some species at risk monitoring throughout the wetland. We've been lucky enough to also receive support from the MTM Conservation Association, which is a local volunteer group, and as well as some substantial financial support from Environment and Climate Change Canada to conduct this work. This past year, we also did receive support from the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters as well. And from year to year, we have received in-kind support from the Swift Canoe and Kayak rental rate in Wabashine, using their access to the water, and they've provided us with a canoe and different things like that. Invasive Phragmites are a perennial reed grass. This means they grow back each year. They grow incredibly tall, dense into these monoculture stands that outcompete all native vegetation. So they pose a serious threat to native ecosystems. They have no natural predators. They prefer to grow along roadsides, wetlands, and shorelines. They're not only an impact to the environment, but they can have impacts to human safety. Growing on the roadsides, they block road signs, creating blind spots at intersections. And they also are considered a pretty serious fire hazard due to them drying out over the winter, and all of that dead biomass remains standing. It takes multiple years of removal, manual removal, which is what we do, before zero regrowth is seen. And this is when we consider a patch to be eradicated. So this here just shows the extent of our surveying in Matchedash Bay from year to year, where different colors represent different status of Phragmites patches, where blue represents native Phragmites that we do like to keep track of, but we do not need to remove. But surprisingly, here in Matchedash Bay, we see some of the highest density of this native Phragmites in all of southeastern Georgian Bay. So it's just of interest to us. But the red dots are those left untreated. Yellow are sites that we cut with our staff and or volunteers. And green are those sites I was talking about that are on their way towards eradication. So we're seeing zero regrowth at these sites, which means that our techniques are working. So we're seeing success. So these pie charts here kind of take those maps and just put it into a little bit of a better visual. And what you'll see here is the pie is getting bigger from year to year, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Phragmites is rapidly spreading. So these pies are just getting bigger because we are finding more sites or more patches of invasive Phragmites in Matchedash Bay. But this is largely due to our ability now with more support from the community, just being able to be in Matchedash Bay more, having staff in there, and just increasing our efforts in the area. The main takeaway from these is that increased size of the green slice from 2022 to 2023, and that's demonstrating those eradicated sites. So last year we saw those number of sites double. So again, this is demonstrating the success that we have had. So this year, we hired 2 summer students that spent a few days each week in Matchedash Bay, helping with some turtle monitoring, putting nesting cages along Lawson Line, and also collectively removing over 700 meters squared of invasive Phragmites from Matchedash Bay. And again, we have students working all throughout southeastern Georgian Bay. So we had them working in Matchedash Bay specifically, a couple days a week on average, about 2 to 3 days a week, and they were able to remove that over 700 meters squared of Phragmites, which is huge. So in addition to hiring local students, we were also able to purchase some equipment that helps us do all of this removal, working with the community and attending events within the community, such as the Coldwater Farmers Market, to hand out educational material and recruit volunteers. Our students map the invasive Phragmites all throughout the month of June. And then there's a really short window from mid-July to the end of August where they're out doing their cutting activities and getting involved with the public. The rapid growth and spread of Phragmites is why we need to continue our progress in Matchedash Bay. As mentioned earlier, it takes multiple years of removal before a site is completely eradicated. And any sites left untreated do pose a risk to becoming larger and spreading throughout the bay. Matchedash Bay is a popular destination for hunters and anglers due to the many bird and fish species that use the area, as well as recreational boaters, canoeists, hikers, and so on. So our request to the Township of Severn for 2024 is that of $5,000 to continue our progress in Matchedash Bay. In addition to Georgian Bay Forever matching this support, this would be used for hiring summer students once again to map and conduct the removal activities, as well as work with and train community members. We also would like to be doing some drone surveying over the cattail marshes of Matchedash Bay, which we have a lot of difficulty accessing because they're so large and dense, but the drone allows us to look for the Phragmites from an aerial perspective. And then lastly, we are looking to implement a community wildlife monitoring program this year. So this would bring in community members that are out there birding or hiking. If they see any wildlife, they can submit their observations to us. And this will help build an in-depth inventory for Matchedash Bay, not just of the turtle species at risk, but all species within the area. Thank you. And if council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And my contact information is just on the screen here.
Thank you very much. Can we take you? Yeah, then I can see. Member Taylor.
Through the chair, thank you very much for the excellent work being done here. But I'm just questioning, Nicole, how much involvement with Severn Sound do you have, and what do they do? Do they assist you, or do you give them information, etc.? And then I have one more comment, but you can go ahead first.
Yeah, so in general, we always work with the Severn Sound Environmental Association in all of our work to make sure we're not duplicating any efforts among some of the areas that we work. Municipalities, I guess, that we both work in. But for this project specifically, we are partnered with them, and we kind of have the work divided in that Georgian Bay Forever focuses on the invasive Phragmites monitoring, and then Severn Sound Environmental Association does the species at risk surveys. And to be very specific, we have there's funding I mentioned from the from Environment and Climate Change Canada that we receive to do this work, and part of that funding goes to SSEA as well to conduct their turtle monitoring work.
Go ahead.
And thank you. And just in summary, I would support a motion that this goes to budget to keep your good work going, and I would certainly support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions from any of the members? Oh, I have one. Nicole, when you talk about next year, how can you get hold of people to train them? Because I walk a lot along in South Horn Road where I live, and they are now popping up all over. And I just wondered if there was some training you could give to citizens who may want to help start to alleviate it before it gets too much. Like it's a small section on the one part of road, but it's bigger than it was last year. So I just wondered about that. How, if there's any way you could let us know, or we could have people who are interested be trained, or is that something we do?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're hoping to do is maybe sort of increase our outreach. So what we would like to do is host a couple training workshops. We also, if anyone is interested in training, they can reach out at any time. But I think we need to increase our outreach a little bit for that. But that can definitely happen. And what I was sort of thinking, what we've done with other municipalities is had the township post like an event on their calendar page, and then hopefully more people can hear about it.
Well, that's what I was going to say next. I think it would be a really nice idea if you got hold of our communication person, Tracy Roxborough, because I think this is this is good news that maybe could be put out now. And then in the future, she could probably help you put out information for anyone who might be interested throughout the township, because it is a large township, and they could learn more about this, or if they have them on their own property or anything, how to get rid of them. Thank you very much for this, Nicole. It's wonderful. Anyone else with questions or comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, seeing none. I think we'll do a motion to refer it to budget.
Okay, so the motion reads that the delegation by Georgian Bay Forever regarding a 2023 progress update and 2024 budget requests be received and referred to the 2024 budget.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Member Taylor, seconded by Member Minnings. All in favor? Carried. Thanks again, Nicole. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any ones that need to be pulled?
I believe Member Brennan, you had indicated there was one you wanted to pull.
Yes, if I may, please, I am interested in pulling E1.1, the building report for the month of August 2023.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so the motion will read then that the agenda be adopted, including consent items with the exception of item E1.1.
A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Member Burkett, seconded by Member Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, I guess we go to new business.
Reports for officials.
Oh, reports, right, okay. G1, planning report, Northridge Estate subdivision. Good morning, Ms. Woodrow, how are you?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, and I'm well and hope you and all the committee members are as well. If I may, Madam Chair, I'm just going to share my screen for one moment just to provide a visual. Okay. Madam Chair, are you able to see a colored map there?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. So the township has received a request to assume maintenance of the yellow portion of the Northridge Estate subdivision. This would include snow removal as well as the stormwater infrastructure to the north. So at this point in time, it is appropriate. The township's engineer has reviewed together with the Public Works Department, and it is appropriate to assume maintenance of the yellow at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Woodrow. Is there any members of the committee that have any questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. The motion reads that planning report number P23-034 regarding the assumption of municipal services for the Northridge subdivision phase 2-1, including portions of North Valley Lane and Windermere Lane be received, and further that planning staff prepare a bylaw for the November 1st council meeting for the Township of Severn to assume all public roads, facilities, and structures.
Thank you. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Member Burkett, seconded by Member McIntyre. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Woodrow. Okay, H1, verbal report from Member McIntyre, Chamber of Commerce appointment. Member McIntyre.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee. As you may know, I experienced some health difficulties around the time of the appointment, just after. And I got off to a bad start with the chamber, and subsequently I had treatments for an illness. And it's not, the hours are not conducive to my life and my lifestyle and so on. So I'd like to regretfully, but respectfully resign from the committee to represent the township with the chamber. And my understanding is that member Brennan has an interest in taking my slot. So with the permission and the consent of the members, I would be grateful to resign this position.
Madam Clerk, I think, do I throw this back to you? Or do I put it out?
It can go either way. It can go up for discussion.
Does anybody have any comments? Discussion? So I guess what we need is, we'll need someone to go on the chamber. And I note that member Brennan had said he was, but he's going on to represent physician recruitment, and he can't put two hands up at once. So I guess we'll have a discussion. Member Brennan.
Yes, thank you to the chair. I have discussed the possibility of this happening with the physician recruitment executive, and they are hoping if there was an order in council to put me in here, they are hoping that I would cover for this month, which is the end of the month. Right. And they're fully aware that I could not serve in both capacities. They would be looking for another recruit. I would prefer to go in as a member of council. I think it's a broader, there's a broader area of interest that intrigues me there. So that's it.
Thank you very much. And I will say that I was on it for the last term, and I really enjoyed it. There's so much information you can bring back to us. It's very good. Yes, Madam Clerk.
So just to provide a little bit of clarity, so member Brennan is welcome to still stay on the physician recruitment committee. This would just mean, like, if he wanted to sit on the chamber, he obviously can't raise both hands on two organizations at the meeting. So the physician recruitment group would have to send someone else to the chamber. Just want to make sure that that's explicitly clear. In order to facilitate this, there are bylaws that have to be passed, because all these appointments were done by bylaw back in December 2022. So any change to our committee appointments have to be done by bylaw.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Mennings and then Member McIntyre.
Hi, thank you through the chair. So I was just looking for clarification, and I appreciate the clerk just provided some of that, because my understanding was that member Brennan was requested by the recruitment committee to participate in the chamber. And I may have had that wrong. It was member Burkett who told me that, because I had also expressed an interest previously in the chamber committee. So I'm still not 100% clear about the participation of member Brennan in both the recruitment and the chamber, and how that's going to be represented by the township. So I just need a little bit more clarification.
Okay. So what it is that member Brennan spoke and said that the physician recruitment committee understands that he probably will be could be appointed by the township. He will do one more meeting this month to represent the physician recruitment. And after that, and a bylaw is passed, he can become the member from the township on the chamber, and physician recruitment will find another person.
And maybe a point of clarification. So
yeah, okay.
This does not mean that member Brennan is not still going to be the council representative to physician recruitment.
No, that's right. He stays on board.
Council representative on physician recruitment, but he will not be representing them at the township as the town. He will not be representing physician recruitment at the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, member Brennan.
Yeah, just to help clarify things, the issue of me representing the physician recruitment committee came up last summer, actually, and they were looking for someone to represent the physician recruitment committee on council. I notified the coordinator that if you can't find anyone, I would be willing to do it. They did get someone who did it. I've never been on behalf of the Physician Recruitment Committee to a council meeting.
Chamber.
So there
Sorry.
was someone that took it over, and I was a backup basically. That person has decided they don't have the time to do the job, and I don't know whether the hours were a factor. It's an early morning meeting once a month. So they asked me, and that's when I approached the mayor with the situation, and then things evolved from there. Okay. Does that help, Councillor Minnings?
I've seen the CAO pop up. I'm going to ask Lori to speak, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't have much of a voice this morning. I just wonder if the change necessitates any other changes, because Councillor McIntyre won't have any committees now, and I know we've got some members that have more than one. So I don't know if you need to make some general changes.
Okay, Member Minnings.
Thank you to the CAO through the chair for that clarification. And that's where I'm going. When we passed the bylaws for committee representation, that was at the beginning of term of this council. And so I don't have an understanding in front of me right now as to who sits on what committees, or even how many committees that we have as council that we are requested to be members of. So, for example, I'm on one committee, that's the Aurelia Library Board Committee. And as you mentioned, CO, Member McIntyre won't be on any committees, and that's fine. But I'm wondering if it's a broader look at committee representation. For example, I don't know how many committees Member Brennan is on, et cetera. And same with Member Jansen and Member Taylor. So I'm just trying, and maybe the CEO has that information handy.
Madam Clerk has it.
Thank you. So as it stands right now, Member Cox has 1. Member Jansen has 2. You yourself have 1. Member Burkett has 1. Member Brennan has 2. And if this goes to pass, the Member McIntyre will have 1. Member Taylor also happens to sit as the alternate for county council, but that's more of a just in case thing than a steady regular, what I consider a committee appointment. So for the most part, most
Member McIntyre would have
just
one.
a minute.
This
Madam
goes
Clerk
to pass.
wasn't finished. Sorry. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
For the most part, Member Cox, yourself, Member Brennan have 1 appointment each. Member Taylor, Member Jansen, and Member Brennan already have 2.
Member Burkett, you mean, has 1. Sorry.
Yes, sorry. Member Burkett has 1.
Okay.
So what it is, we don't have it compared to other municipalities. We do not have an abundance of exterior committees and agencies that we would be sending people to. We have, so Member Cox sits at the Coldwater Public Library Board. Member Taylor sits at the Coldwater Mill and SSCA, which includes source water protection. Okay, the Coldwater BAA is Member Jansen, and that's tied to his position as the ward councillor. Member Burkett has Lake Country Tourism.
Madam Chair.
Excuse me. Member Jansen also has Segbay.
I'm just getting there.
Sorry. Okay. Well, let her finish.
I just noticed that Member Minnings is writing as we go, so I'm giving her a second to write it down. So Member Jansen has Segbay, which is the Southeastern Georgian Bay Chamber of Commerce. Member Brennan has Physician Recruitment, as well as Otis Park. And then Member McIntyre, up until today, had the Aurelia Chamber.
Okay, Member Burkett, you wanted to speak? Sorry.
Through you, Madam Chair, does the Accessibility Committee count or not? Is that
right?
Oh, so apologies. So if you wanted to include the actual township committees, then we have Member Burkett sits on the Accessibility Committee. And then I believe it's Member Minnings and Member Cox that sit on Recreation?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think Member Burkett also sits on the Emergency
Management. Correct.
Management Committee.
Emergency Management.
I'm Matchedash Hall too.
Okay, so where we're at then is Member Brennan has put forward an interest to be on the chamber, but Member McIntyre has no committee to be on. Is everybody okay with this? Oh, Member Burkett.
No, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I was going to ask that question, but you've asked. Thank you.
Okay, so is there, I guess we leave it at this.
So if that's the case, then we'll have a motion to accept the resignation and to bring forward the bylaw to appoint Member Brennan. That does mean that we have some members now that will have 3 appointments and some that'll have 1 and 1 that'll have none.
So is there anyone there who has, like, they're on a lot of committees besides, like, that they could, I only am on, okay, Member Burkett, thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Member McIntyre, would you like to sit on the Accessibility Committee?
There you go.
Which would give you 1 committee, and it meets sporadically. It's not something that's written in stone. It's sort of at the call of Madam Clerk.
It meets quarterly at 9 in the morning virtually.
That would suit me much better than the one that I'm presently on.
Thank you. Then Member McIntyre will now be on the Accessibility Committee. Thank you very much, Member Burkett.
Thank you. Thank you, Member McIntyre.
Okay, is that okay, Madam Clerk?
So Member Brennan's going to be the council representative to the chamber?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, give me 1 moment just to write this all down.
Yes, Member Taylor.
So just through the chair to the clerk. So is Councillor Brennan still on recruitment too?
Yes.
But just he can't.
He is, but he would not be able to be the physician recruitment appointment to the chamber.
There are 2 separate appointments. He's physician recruitment, and then he's chamber, just like your mill and SSEA.
So who fills in at the chamber for doctors recruitment on our behalf?
That's up to physician recruitment to make someone appointed to the chamber.
And that's their committee that makes the appointment.
That's their committee.
To make that clear, it's not up to us specifically. They just want a representative for the sole purpose of physician recruitment.
From the physician, from the physician recruitment committee, not just Severn. It's the committee.
Yeah, they have a very focused interest in accessing the chamber for obvious
reasons. And the
reasons.
chamber does a lot working with them and helps them. Okay, Madam Clerk.
So the motion reads that Member Brennan be appointed to the Aurelian District Chamber of Commerce and that Member McIntyre be appointed to the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. And further, that the required bylaws be brought forward to the next regular council meeting.
May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Member Burkett, seconded by
Wanda.
Do we have a problem with this motion?
I need a seconder.
We can't get a seconder?
Well, Councillor Member, through the chair, Member Brennan, Member Manning said.
Member Manning seconded it. All in favor?
I assume I don't vote.
Yeah, well.
You can.
You can.
Oh.
You like
It's
yourself.
general committee appointments.
Hooray, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we will go back to E.11 building report for the month of August. Member Brennan, you had some questions.
Yes, it was a pleasure to read the report. Not that I'm sure I really understand it. So I just have, there's a note on the bottom of the report, and maybe I can just focus on that. So the note says we've had a new record for monthly highest number of dwellings, construction value, and building permit fees collected. That's pretty impressive in a climate financially that we're in right now. So just wanted to see if we could take this, well, I assume as an Excel spreadsheet and make it into a little more of a communications flow. So I guess I have like three fundamental questions. Where's the focus then? Is this all in Councillor Minning's ward particularly? Is this an unusual blip? Like, what's the prognosis for the future? Are we on a roll, or is just a weird report? And from the building department, I would like to know, what is the conclusion? What message on this report would we be able to share with Severn residents? It just seems like a good message, and I would just like to be able to say something that was technically accurate and so forth. Because I don't know, it seems to me, we haven't done any MZOs, we haven't had any zoning changes, but we're flying. So what's happening here? That's all I'm asking.
Okay, Nick, thank you.
Through the chair to member Brendan. Couple things. I have a tendency of calling what you probably see in front of you there the honeymoon stage of a new subdivision. So what we had happen was, and it was in Councillor Minning's ward, Serenity Bay or Turnbull subdivision. We had the substantial completion, which was issued mid-August. So that actually resulted in us being able to release 30 plus new homes in 1 month. So 90% of what you see in the actual new SDUs or new single dwelling units is because of that one subdivision. Now those home sales were actually from last year. So now they're actually are able to get in the ground and get going. So the forecast on that site there, I think we're going to have probably a few more busy months going forward with that. We're in discussions with their townhouses, and we've got a few more. Actually, the report for September is going to be pretty good as well. Maybe not as nice as August, but definitely pretty good. So I think we're going to continue on pretty well for the next couple of months at least. That's part of it. In terms of messaging, I can speak with our with Tracy on communicating some of the ideas. I'm not sure. We may have to discuss. As I said before, it's kind of a honeymoon stage. It's going to taper off, so I'm not sure it's really going to be at that level forever and ever, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think I read in our council updates that the Greenwood subdivision also is moving ahead and getting more building permits. So a lot of these applications that are out there have started getting their building permits. Yes, Councillor Minnings.
Hi, thank you. Through the chair to Nick. So I agree. I love getting these reports. However, when I'm looking at it, the actual number of permits, when I look at last year at this time to this year at this time, we've actually issued less building permits. Is that correct? Even though we've collected more in fees. That's what I take away from this report that you've provided.
Through the chair.
Go ahead. Thank you.
That is correct. We actually are down a bit. It looks like our other residential is down some 40 units or 40 permits. So smaller projects are down, but we're definitely dealing with the bigger stuff right now.
Thank you. And just for my own clarification, subsequent, so the bigger projects have a different permit fee structure. Is that correct?
Go ahead.
Through the chair, that is correct. Yes, the fee structure is based on, typically in our bylaw, it's based on square footage, and there's a valuation that goes along with that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I guess Madam Clerk. Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
So the motion reads that the building report for the month of August 2023 be received for information.
I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Member Minning, second by Member Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Okay. We will now go into closed session.
Okay, the motion reads that committee resolve in a closed session that is that the meeting is hereby now closed to the public pursuant to the Municipal Act SO 2001, Chapter 25, Section 2392, for the purpose of considering litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by member Taylor, second by member Burkett. All in favor? Carried.
Yeah, give me one moment, please. at 10:16 a.m. And that the meeting is hereby now reopened to the public.
May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Member Taylor, Member McIntyre. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, next motion is the confidential planning report number P23-035 dated October 18th, 2023 with respect to an Ontario Land Tribunal appeal for minor variance A0723 be received and the staff proceed with option 1.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Member Taylor, second by Member Brennan. All in favor? Carried.
Okay. Next one is the confidential planning report number P23-036 dated October 18th, 2023 with respect to Ontario Land Tribunal appeal of minor variance application A33-22 be received and the staff proceed with option 3.
Mover and a seconder, please. Whoa. Moved by Member Taylor, second by Member Burkett. All in favor? Carried.
Okay. Last motion is that this is an adjournment.
Here we go. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Member McIntyre, second by Member Brennan. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day. Take care.
Thank you.